the follow-up. We all in.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Dr. Stubbs here, bringing you another edition of the Follow-Up Live. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about some things that may shock you if you plan to attend an Ivy League school or even a prestigious university. And I'm going to talk to you from firsthand experience, as I attended Duke University for my undergraduate career. And just kind of the first things that really jumped out to me from first days of walking on campus to just some things you realized over time that maybe I didn't notice the first year, but I started quickly to realize that things were moving a lot quicker or a lot faster than maybe I had anticipated. So I'm just going to get right into it. So the very first thing that jumped out to me was immediately the cars in the parking lot. So I can recall walking through campus the first day, and I was walking through the parking lot, and I was walking through the student section parking lot, and I noticed there were a lot of luxury vehicles, right? And I'm like, man, there's Porsches in here. There's Mercedes-Benz, all the high-end type of cars were in the parking lot. And, I kind of looked around, was like, is this the student parking lot or is this the staff parking lot? Like, what is it? And I would say that's kind of the first thing. Someone like myself who comes from more of a middle America background, my parents, they earned a lot of money, but I wouldn't say we were extremely rich, had millions of dollars. So it was somewhat of a shock immediately that, oh, okay. So the people that are my age, as a matter of fact, I didn't even have a car at that time. Now, a lot of that was due to my parents' belief in making sure that before they give me a car that I was at least halfway through to make sure to know that, I was committed. But that was how my parents did things. But I'll say that was the first thing, right? Just having those vehicles in the car. And it made me realize, like, wow, there's some people that are my age who are driving these vehicles that I'm thinking about, oh, when I get older, they already have these. So it immediately kind of let me know, like, well, either they are working for this and they receive these type of vehicles, or maybe their parents just have that much money where they're able to just afford these vehicles. So that was one first shock. And although to some people listening, this may be a small thing, but like I said, someone like myself who, yes, my parents, they have Lexuses and Mercedes, but we did not have that at that time. They have that now as they're older. They're now in their retirement age. But that was the first shock. The next shock, being at Duke University, it's known as a PWI. And for those of you who don't know what that is a what does PWI mean again? Predominantly white institution. Okay, predominantly white institution. And going into it, I'm like, oh, okay. So, yes, I'm a black man, but I'm going to an institution where it's predominantly white people. But when I got there, there were white people, but there were black people, there were Asian people, there were Indian people, there were Native American, there were people of all races, all types. The diversity within the school really stood out. Just coming into it, I think colleges did a good job back in the day of really kind of highlighting the prestigiousness, and they kind of put that as a white blanket over these colleges. So that immediately was a shock, but it was a relieving shock because it made me realize I wasn't the only one there. There were many people of color, of many backgrounds there at the institution, and that really brought a level of comfort for me to realize that. And even nowadays, when I go back to Duke for alumni weekend, homecoming, whatever the case may be, you see more and more diverse. So I think one thing that people have in mind is this mindset that if I go to a prestigious university or an Ivy League, that there's going to be just a lot of white people. That is not the case. So if that's something that maybe has you apprehensive or second guessing your ability to succeed or to even be admitted into that type of university or college, I think that's something you can immediately throw away. In my current role as an executive director of admissions, diversity is a huge type of push that not only our college is pushing, but also many other colleges and universities. So that's something that really you can kind of give yourself some peace of mind that there are tons and tons of people from all walks and all backgrounds. I'm talking from the rich to the poor to the middle class to some who you hear. I met some people with stories that, you know, they were even homeless. So do not let that be something that holds you back from attending or attempting to be to apply to those type of universities. The next thing I would say is creativity and innovation. Now where I'm from, South Florida, Palm Beach County, we have what they call a melting pot, and there's a lot of creativity, a lot of entrepreneurship. Everybody's out there doing something, but it was on another level when I was at Duke. There were people doing all types of things from music. Some of you may know the music artist Mike Posner. He was actually a student while I was in school. And I remember distinctly meeting him for the first time. It was actually a very funny story. We were at one of my friends' apartments, and he was there on the couch. And I distinctly remember this because once I learned who he was, once he became Mike Posner, I was like, man, you know, he was just somebody real cool and chill, just hanging out. But you got people like that there at the university who you just wouldn't know. I mean, there were people starting businesses, starting tech companies, starting things while in school that really, in my mind at that time, I just wasn't in that mental space personally, but it really was a shock. And it made me realize very quickly, hey, Chris, it's time to pick it up. You gotta pick it up because you're not here. This isn't a little boy game. This is a big boy game. And another shock was the writing aspect of the college. Okay. Now, a lot of people, at least myself, let me not say a lot of people, but I know I'm one person, so there's probably others out there. Writing is so important at these universities. And in my next point, you're going to see why. That when we're in high school, coming through secondary school, even middle school and elementary school, they do a lot of presentations. They want you to get in front of the class, present your project, and you think, okay, public speaking. But what you realize very quickly is that writing is very, very important. Of course, communicating orally, being able to communicate your points or your perspectives in an auditory type of way is important. But I recall at Duke University, they have a writing class that is required for all freshmen, right? And I considered myself a great writer because in high school, I always did well when I was writing. All writing assignments, I did very, very well. And here's what happened, and I think you all find this funny, is that my very first grade when I attended this writing course that's required, my very first grade was a D-. Now, mind you, at the time, I had no idea what even minuses or plus grades were because my high school didn't apply those in our grades. I was like, D-. Well, that's pretty much like an F. And I remember going to my professor, and this is something very important. Make sure you always talk to your professors about good grades and bad grades. I went to my professor and they said, I understand what you were trying to, convey in your writing. However, for you to compete here at Duke University, you are going to have to step this up a lot. And that's why you received the grade. And that was a shock. I said, whoa, hold on. You're talking to somebody. Hey, I'm a great writer. Hey, people always tell me I write well. I'm able to really convey my messages in writing. I got a D-, but thank you to that professor. I have to figure out his name. I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. But if that did not happen, I would have continued in my career at Duke thinking I was a great writer. But that shocked me, but it shocked me in a good way. And it made me realize very quickly, You can't just do this like you did in high school. This is not high school anymore. This is college. And not only is this college, this is Duke University. At the time, one of the top 10 universities in the world. So it's time to step it up a lot of notches, not just a few. So that was another shock. And I'll say my final shock, and there's many more, but I'm just going to keep this brief, was the knowledge of the professors, plus the connections the professors had to everyone in the world. And if you think about it, these professors, especially at an Ivy League or prestigious school like Duke University, which, by the way, Duke University is not technically an Ivy League school. A lot of people assume that, but it is not. But I distinctly remember looking at the professor's background, looking at all the publications, looking at all the research, looking at all of the time that they had spent, years and years, and books they have written to put towards their level of knowledge in order to be considered experts, in order to be considered to be deemed chosen to teach at these type of schools. These professors, they're just not regular old Joes off the street. These professors have put in time, have put in work, and they have done a lot of writing. Okay, a lot of writing. Maybe there's some out there, but I can almost guarantee you will be hard pressed to find professors at an Ivy League school or prestigious school who just did a lot of talking. All right, think about that. Think about the professors, anyone who may be, well known in social media spaces. They not only may be able to communicate orally very well, but they've done a lot of writing, a lot of research. So going back to my professor in that writing course, my first year, who shocked me, he was only letting me know and putting me into the mindset, into the space that you have to be very conscious of your writing skills. Writing lives forever. Actually, on one of my tweets, my pinned tweet on my Twitter right now, I have on there, be careful what you post, because the same words you write today will be the same words your grandchildren, great grandchildren will see 200 years from now. Okay. Writing is very important. If we think about historically, we see from the Egyptians to any culture you can think of, they talk about the writing. I'm a Christian myself, and the Holy Bible, it's a writing of book. It's writing, and it's all about how you communicate via writing. Yes, communicating just like I am right now is extremely important. Let me not try to downplay the importance of communication, but I want to highlight the importance of writing. So if you believe you are a good writer, that is great. But I charge you to try your best to just continue to practice, continue to improve. Continuous improvement, I believe, is the key to success in all things in life. I started out as an okay writer, at least because I thought I was a great writer in high school. But I realized very quickly in college that writing was extremely important. And I'm someone who has completed their bachelor's degree, master's degree, and a doctorate degree. Let me tell you this, and I'm in with this. When I got to my dissertation of my doctorate degree, all I could think of was that same professor that said, you have to step your writing up. And thank you to that professor. I'm going to find out his name. I feel like I need to interview him or something, because he has no idea how that D-, that was my first grade at Duke University. First assignment grade, a D-. Now, mind you, I finished the class with a B+ because of that. But that D- changed my whole perspective on writing. So as I close here, make sure that you do your best to try to re-educate yourself. Those verbs, adverbs, adjectives, run-on sentence, semicolons, commas. Yes, very common ways to communicate, but how are you utilizing them? Shout out to Dr. V at the University of South Florida, who was kind of my first even deeper dive into writing, because she has a whole business that's around that. And I just never understood the breadth of writing and how deeply intricate it is, but it is so important. Okay. So please be sure, if there's anything you do after watching this video, make sure that you think about how are you communicating in writing, in emails, and even in text messages. All right. Don't get into that habit of writing like you text, because that's not going to cut it. All right. So this video is all about the culture shock. Okay. Some of the things that you can kind of expect or maybe not expect. But like I said, just cars you see in the parking lot, these students, they're because of their families or whatever the case, they may have started a business at 8 years old. Who knows? That may shock you. The diversity of people may shock you. Even though your school may be considered a PWI, predominantly white institution like Duke, when I got there, it wasn't that. So don't let that fool you. Everyone is there. Everyone is capable. Creativity, innovation. It is a constant thing. Everyone at these colleges are the top of the class. Valedictorians, salutatorians only. Okay. That is who is there. And of course the athletes as well, because I wasn't a valedictorian, salutatory, and I was, but I had a high GPA. I could play some football, and that's what got me there to Duke University. Writing versus talking. Okay. All right. When it comes to communication, make sure you focus on the writing aspect of your college career at any university or college. It doesn't matter. That's across the board, and that's just in life. And then, of course, the professor knowledge and the professor's detailed and research, which considers them to be experts, but also those professor connections. Do not take for granted the professor connections that are there waiting for you. Always talk to your professors before, after class, email. These people can maybe be that bridge to your next step, your next internship, your next position, or even just give you a better perspective of the field you may be looking to enter. All right. So that's it for this episode of the follow-up. Hopefully that brought some light to some of the things that you can expect. And I hope you join me on the next live edition of the follow-up. This your boy, Dr. Stubbs, aka Christopher Stubbs, and I'll see you on the next one. Y'all take care.
It's the follow-up. We all in.